Early morning at the Black Ridge private military camp. The sun was barely up, casting long shadows across the dusty training field. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that settled before storm. A woman walked through the main gate. A black woman in her late 20s, wearing faded jeans, a worn-out shirt that hung loosely on her slender frame, and scuffed sneakers. A janitor badge clipped to her belt swayed slightly as she moved. She carried herself with quiet purpose, but the moment she stepped onto the field, eyes snapped toward her like she'd broken some unspoken rule. The trainees, all muscular and clad in tactical gear, exchanged glances, their lips curling into smirks. "Hey, janitor," called out a tall trainee with a sneer. "Wrong place for you." Another laughed. "Bet those shoes couldn't survive 5 minutes here." The woman didn't respond. She kept walking, her gaze steady but calm. The group's laughter grew louder, echoing off the steel walls that enclosed the camp. Suddenly, an instructor's voice cut through the noise. "Badge? Let's see it," he demanded, his tone sharp and mocking. A bulky male trainee stepped forward, grabbing the woman's jacket collar and yanking it down hard in front of everyone. The crowd erupted in laughter, some pulling out their phones to record the scene. But then, the laughter died as a startling sight was revealed. Underneath the torn fabric on her upper back was a tattoo, a white serpent coiled tightly around a sword. It was the emblem no one dared speak aloud, the symbol of the Ghost Viper unit, whispered about in military circles but never confirmed. The crowd froze. Phones dropped slightly. Faces paled. Only a few senior officers watching from the sidelines understood the gravity of what they were seeing. The woman stood tall, hands clenched but steady by her sides, eyes burning with a quiet, unshakable strength. In the distance, the silhouette of the camp commander appeared briefly at the edge of the field, watching the scene unfold but not yet stepping in. The weight of silence settled over the group. Something had changed, but no one was sure what it meant yet. "Hi, my name is Malik. If you believe stories like this need to be heard, please hit like and subscribe right now. Your support helps us shine a light on real injustice." She moved through the camp's corridors like a shadow, quiet, unassuming, unseen by most. Her days were spent pushing carts filled with cleaning supplies, scrubbing floors that reflected the sharp fluorescent lights above, and tidying spaces where soldiers trained to become the best of the best. The other trainees barely acknowledged her presence. To them, she was invisible, just part of the background noise that came with running a high-security military facility. Her clothes were always the same: worn jeans, an oversized shirt that hid the tattoo they hadn't yet fully processed, and sneakers that had seen better days. She never complained about her job or her place in the camp. She carried her humility like armor, shielding herself from the whispers and sidelong glances. In the mess hall, she ate alone, quietly peeling back the wax paper of her sandwich while the buzz of conversation swirled around her. Trainees in their sleek tactical gear laughed and boasted about their latest drills, their camaraderie tight and exclusive. She watched from the sidelines, her eyes calm but observant. Some of the staff respected her silent dedication. A few nodded when she passed, a subtle acknowledgement that she was more than just the camp janitor. But most turned away, too caught up in their own worlds to notice the quiet force moving among them. She had learned early on that visibility could be dangerous. Better to stay under the radar, let others speak and act, while she prepared for the moments when silence wasn't enough. The training grounds buzzed with energy, gunfire simulations, obstacle courses, drills that tested strength and endurance. The trainees carried themselves with pride, their muscles taut and faces set with determination. Yet beneath the bravado lurked an undercurrent of suspicion and judgment aimed squarely at her. She had seen the way some of them exchanged knowing looks when she passed. Whispers floated just beyond hearing, questions about who she really was, what secrets she might be hiding beneath that faded shirt. But she never gave them the satisfaction of an answer. Her hands bore the calluses of hard work, rough and steady, capable of delicate precision. They were the hands that cleaned the mess, yes, but also the hands that had once handled weapons, tools, and tactics with expert skill. The sun climbed higher, casting sharp shadows across the camp. She moved with purpose, her eyes scanning the horizon, ready for whatever came next. In this place built on discipline and strength, she was a quiet storm waiting to be unleashed. The bullying didn't stop. It only grew sharper, more relentless. In the gym, Vanessa, a trainee with a slick ponytail and a confident smirk, spotted her pushing a mop near the weights. "Hey, thrift store queen," Vanessa sneered loud enough for everyone to hear. "Bet you can't even lift a dumbbell." Her friends snickered, their eyes gleaming with amusement. Sarah didn't look up. Her movement stayed steady as she wiped down a bench, but the words cut through the air like knives. Nearby, Mike, a stocky guy with arms bulging from his shirt, chuckled. "Yeah, cleaning lady, this isn't your scene." The group's laughter swelled, bouncing off the steel walls, drowning out the thud of dropping weights. Later, in a locker room thick with the scent of sweat and leather, a wiry woman named Tara stormed in with her gear bag slung over her shoulder. She spotted Sarah quietly organizing cleaning supplies and sneered, "Oh, look, it's the charity case." Tossing her bag onto a bench with force, she knocked over a spray bottle, spilling cleaner across the floor. Sarah knelt to pick it up, her hand steady but her lips pressed tight. Tara didn't pause. What's next? Polishing boots? Or just hanging out where you don't belong? The others laughed. One even kicked the fallen bottle towards Sarah like it was a ball. Despite the cruelty, Sarah kept her silence. She simply went about her work, each motion precise and calm, refusing to give them the reaction they wanted. But her quiet defiance only seemed to fuel the fire. Outside, on the dusty training field where trainees ran drills and fired rubber rounds, Sarah swept debris near the sidelines. The sun beat down mercilessly, and the sounds of commands and simulated gunfire filled the air. That's when Greg, a wiry assistant instructor with a permanent scowl, spotted her. "Hey, Janitor," he barked, cupping his hand around his mouth. "This is a secure zone. If you don't have a badge, take off that jacket and prove you belong." Nearby trainees paused, turning to watch the confrontation unfold. Sarah straightened, resting her hand on the broom. "I have a temporary pass," she said softly, her voice steady like she was stating a fact, not begging for respect. Greg stepped closer, his boots kicking up dust. "If you've got nothing to hide, strip the jacket. Or are you stealing someone's identity?" His tone dripped with accusation. Vanessa folded her arms, smirking. Mike called out, "Yeah, show us what you got." The crowd grew, some recording, others whispering bets on how this would end. Sarah's eyes flicked from one face to another, unflinching. She didn't move, didn't reach for her jacket. She just stood there, expression unreadable, waiting. The group jeered louder, but she remained still, an unshakable presence amid their noise. If you're still watching, drop a comment below. What would you do in this situation? And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that matter. During a weapons assembly drill, a young trainee named Marcus struggled to piece together his training rifle. His hands trembled as frustration took hold, the scattered parts mocking his every attempt. Nearby, Sarah paused in her cleaning, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. Without a word, she stepped over and knelt beside the table. Her fingers moved swiftly, almost effortlessly, aligning the bolt carrier, sliding into place, and clicking the upper receiver shut. It was a fluid motion, one born of years of precise training. Marcus stared, jaw slack, as she handed him the fully assembled rifle. "Try it now," she said softly before returning to her duties. The trainees nearby fell silent, their eyes flicking toward her with a mix of awe and suspicion. Vanessa, who had been watching from a distance, froze mid-step, her water bottle half raised to her lips. No one laughed. No one jeered. Later that day, as Sarah moved quietly through the corridors, she found herself under the watchful eyes of a few trainees whose skepticism was beginning to grow. Rumors whispered through the ranks. Who was this woman really? What secrets did she keep hidden beneath that faded shirt? Her skills became harder to ignore. When a live-fire simulation went awry, a rubber round misfired, hurtling toward a fallen trainee. Sarah, nearby with her broom, reacted instantly, raising her supply bag just in time to stop the round inches from the trainee's neck. The camp fell momentarily silent, the usual noise dampened by the weight of the moment. Questions lingered in the air, but Sarah offered no answers. She returned to her work, the quiet storm beneath her calm exterior growing stronger. The bullying, while still present, began to waver in the face of her undeniable competence. Some trainees began to watch her more closely, their expressions shifting from mockery to cautious respect. Yet the walls of suspicion remained thick, the truth locked behind the barrier of her silence. In the mess hall, the air grew tense when Sarah was assigned to clear trays. A group led by Derek, known for his loud voice and cruel nature, decided to humiliate her once more. He grabbed a half-eaten tray and deliberately tipped it onto the floor in her path, sauce and rice splattering across the tiles. "Looks like you've got more work now, janitor," he sneered as laughter erupted around them. Others joined, tossing napkins and straws, their mockery echoing off the walls. Sarah paused, eyes darkening for a moment before she knelt to clean the mess, her silence louder than any words. The day wore on with tension thick in the air. Rumors of her past began to circulate quietly among the trainees, whispers of a military background no one dared confirm. The power dynamic was shifting, but the full story remained hidden, waiting for the moment to break free. The tension on the training field reached its breaking point during a team-building exercise. Sarah was assigned to deliver water bottles to squads scattered across the dusty course. Approaching Vanessa's group, she felt the familiar weight of hostile eyes. Vanessa, still simmering from earlier humiliations, grabbed a water bottle from Sarah's crate and poured it over her head. Water soaked Sarah's faded shirt and tangled her hair. "There, now you're clean," Vanessa taunted, voice dripping with malice. Others joined in, splashing more water and spitting into the crate. The trainees chanted, "Drown the rat," their voices rising in a cruel chorus. Sarah stood still, water dripping down her face and clothes clinging to her skin. For a brief moment, her hands trembled, but she didn't retreat. "You done?" she whispered, voice low but steady. Vanessa forced a laugh, clearly expecting a different reaction. The chanting continued, but Sarah lifted the water crate, water sloshing over the sides, and walked away with steady steps, leaving a trail of soaked sneakers behind. The crowd's laughter followed her, but a few, like Hole, the scarred veteran trainee, watched silently, their faces tight with unspoken questions. Later that night, as the camp settled under a blanket of stars, a malfunction locked down the armory. Trainees scrambled, desperate to access their gear before the timed exercise. Sarah, who had been cleaning the control room, stepped to the keypad. Her fingers moved swiftly over the keys, entering a complex 12-digit code. The system beeped, the heavy doors of the armory unlocked, and a hush fell over the room. The trainees stared, disbelief written on their faces. Daniels, the head instructor, appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "How'd you know that code?" he asked quietly. Sarah didn't answer, only shifted back to her mop. "I pay attention," she said softly. The room remained silent as the trainees filed out, glancing back at her with a mix of awe and unease. The following day, the atmosphere was charged. Kyle, a former Marine built like a tank, had been feeding off the crowd's energy all day. Now, he saw his moment to humiliate Sarah once and for all. With a booming voice, he declared, "Fine, I'll show everyone she's just trash." Before anyone could react, he grabbed the collar of Sarah's shirt and yanked it down hard. The fabric tore sharply, revealing the stark white tattoo curling across her shoulder blades, a serpent wrapped around the hilt of the sword. The Ghost Viper insignia. The crowd gasped, then froze. Vanessa's smirk vanished, her face turning pale. Mike took a step back, mouth agape. Whispers filled the air. "That's the real Ghost Viper," someone said. Sarah didn't flinch. She slowly turned her head, eyes locking with Kyle's. "You dared strip someone who's killed to survive," she said quietly, each word heavy with meaning. Kyle stammered, "I didn't know." "That's the problem," Sarah replied. "The ones who don't know are the most dangerous. Not because they're strong, but because they're stupid." The silence was deafening. Phones lowered, the crowd frozen in shock. Hole stepped forward. "Don't force her," he said. "I've seen that tattoo once before. If it's real, she's part of a unit no one dares name." The tension thickened, the camp holding its breath for what would come next. The head commander, Colonel Daniels, appeared swiftly amid the stunned crowd. His boots hit the ground with a steady rhythm as he approached Sarah, eyes immediately locking onto the white serpent tattoo emblazoned across her back. His face tightened, a flicker of recognition crossing his features. Without hesitation, Daniels dropped to one knee and offered a sharp salute. "Commander Sarah," he said, voice steady but filled with respect. The entire camp fell silent, the weight of his words sinking in like a thunderclap. Vanessa's confident smirk dissolved, replaced by a pale, stunned expression. Mike's mouth hung open as if the words had knocked the air from his lungs. Kyle trembled, his wide eyes brimming with tears, unable to form an apology. Leia, who had egged the crowd on moments before, dropped the megaphone, her bravado crumbling as the gravity of the moment took hold. The atmosphere shifted from cruel amusement to solemn reverence. Sarah reached into her pocket and produced a black card edged in gold, the same emblem embossed faintly on its surface as the tattoo on her back. She held it up calmly. "I'm the primary funder of this program," she declared quietly. "The trainee list has been updated. Anyone who humiliated another is to leave immediately." The crowd remained motionless, disbelief etched into every face. Slowly, Kyle lowered his head, his quiet sobs shaking his frame. He tried to speak, perhaps to apologize, but Sarah didn't glance his way. Without a word, she turned and walked toward the main building, her torn shirt hanging off one shoulder. Trainees parted silently, eyes downcast, unwilling to meet hers. Vanessa stood frozen, fists clenched, lips trembling as if she wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. Mike averted his gaze, reddening with shame. Greg, who had earlier challenged Sarah's legitimacy, opened his mouth to argue but was cut off by a stern look from Daniels. Leia retreated, her earlier confidence replaced by pale uncertainty. The silence that followed was heavy, the kind that lingers after a storm has passed. By morning, Kyle was gone, fired on the spot, his name blacklisted across every private security firm in the country. Vanessa's sponsorship with a high-end tactical gear company collapsed as social media erupted with clips exposing her mocking Sarah. Mike's retired general mentor severed ties, refusing to be associated with someone who had crossed a line. Greg faced demotion, reassigned to a desk job far from the training grounds. Tara's application for elite contracts was rejected due to conduct issues. Derek's gym lost funding after a viral video of his food-throwing antics surfaced. Ethan's sniper certification was revoked, and Rachel's intelligence firm publicly distanced itself from her. Leia's social media accounts flooded with comments condemning her behavior, her reputation left in ruins. Throughout it all, Sarah did not linger to witness the fallout. She returned to her work quietly, wearing the same oversized shirt, her steps steady and unhurried. Yet now, people saw her, not because she demanded it, but because they could no longer ignore her presence. Her movements were deliberate, confident, as if she owned every corner of the camp. She spoke little of what had happened. The tattoo, the card, and the salute spoke volumes on her behalf. The days that followed were quiet but charged with a new energy. The camp had changed. Trainees whispered Sarah's name in hushed tones, while instructors treated her with a respect that had been absent before. She moved through the corridors with a calm dignity, no longer invisible, but not seeking attention either. In the mess hall, the once cold stares were replaced by nods and brief acknowledgments. The air still held tension, but it was the tension of respect rather than disdain. Some trainees avoided her gaze, ashamed of their past behavior, while others watched her with a newfound curiosity. Sarah never spoke about the events that had unfolded. She didn't need to. Her presence told the story, a story of resilience, strength, and quiet power. The tattoo on her back, hidden beneath her worn shirt, was now a symbol not just of fear, but of earned respect. One afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the training field, a sleek black SUV pulled up quietly. A tall, broad-shouldered man stepped out, his face calm but commanding. The trainees nearby stopped their activities, watching as he approached Sarah. Without a word, he leaned down, whispered something in her ear, and took a seat beside her on the bench. Together, they ate in comfortable silence, a picture of quiet solidarity amid the buzz of the camp. It was clear to those watching that this man was not just a visitor, but someone important, someone who belonged by Sarah's side. The camp's atmosphere had shifted permanently. The bullying and mockery had been replaced by a cautious respect, a recognition that some truths, once revealed, change everything. Sarah's story became a legend whispered in the barracks, a reminder of the strength found in silence and the power that comes from standing firm when the world tries to push you down. Those who had once mocked her were gone, their names fading into obscurity like dust in the wind. And Sarah? She continued her work, steady and unyielding. Her journey was far from over, but the path ahead was now hers to walk with confidence and pride. The tattoo, the salute, the quiet strength, it all spoke louder than any words ever could. If you believe in second chances and breaking barriers, share this story. To viewers in the USA, UK, and Canada, your voice matters. Together, we can change the world.